everybody.
Good morning. Okay, getting a pretty late start this morning. It is almost 10 o'clock. Ran into Fairbanks, grabbed a bunch of lumber for a project that we talked about. So more on that as the day progresses. A little overcast, like Adrian was saying, is a little cool this morning. So just a fall day. Should be getting pretty much freezing at night, every night now. It may have a few days where it doesn't. The high today is supposed to be about 46. So yeah, gonna be a nice day. Dave's already out doing stuff. We'll be out there shortly. See you guys at the farm. I think this is the last weekend of hunting season. It should close on Monday the 25th. So we got a few more days. And parking lot's full, of course. The river's really starting to drop now. And they've actually patched the interface to the bridge, which is really nice. The bump is getting pretty aggressive, so that's nice to get that done. Hopefully we burn all the piles today. That is the plan anyways. We may make a few more before it snows and burn some more later on this month or next month if weather allows. Or they'll have to wait till next fall. Or maybe in the spring. There's a little window in the spring you can burn when it's still wet and snowy, but not too snowy. We'll see how that goes. Well, we're starting to lose our colors. As we talked about in previous video, the birch tree leaves were pretty tired anyways. So they were unhappy weeks ago. And now we finally got some good frosts. I think night before last, it was at least 28 degrees, maybe a little cooler. So that's a good hard frost. Some of the popples and other trees will start to turn color or have turned color. We'll get some oranges and some yellows. But for the most part, being kind of damp and the lack of a frost till now, I mean, didn't get a good frost until September 21st. That's pretty late. So for my record keeping, I try to keep track of the high and low temperature every day. It's not very scientific for sure, and it's not super accurate, but it looks like this year was about 130 to 135 frost-free days. So that's really good to get 130 frost-free days in Alaska and in the interior. And then this summer we had a fair majority of days for the summer were at least 65 degrees, and a lot of them were 70s and even into the 80s. So that's really good. That's how we're able to grow corn and other warm weather crops that a lot of the state struggles with. Look at the grouse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we're gonna light piles up, get these handled.
All right, everybody. Well, Tarn and I made it back from Fairbanks. We have the doggies, and we are setting fires today.
Fix that.
Perfect morning for burning. Not quite 11 o'clock. It's 10:42 in the morning. update on the fires. They are pretty much all burned down. 3.5 hours.
Well, it's a little after 7 o'clock. Hard to think, just 4 or 5 weeks ago, the sun had been up and bright. It sure switches fast to winter. Adrian's going to put some time in on the disc tonight. I know it doesn't seem like much, the first few passes, the disc doesn't go real deep, but literally having to cut up roots, sod, everything that's there, so. Well, by now it's a little after 10 o'clock and everybody was tired. Adrian had been running the tractor for about 3 hours that night, so she decided to bring it in and we were going to pack it up and head back to the house for the night. Good morning, everybody. Obviously the truck's warming up this morning. The windshields are icy. It's about 28 or 27 degrees this morning. Sun is going to be up here in just a little bit. Be a beautiful sunny day that'll warm things up a bunch. As the ground freezes, things will start to change as to what we do on the farm. And here before too long, it'll be too frozen to use the disc anymore. So we'll be stuck to doing above ground things, which we still can clear brush and logs and things like that. Burn any piles that we have, whatever it takes to get the land cleared, that can be done. But we won't be disking anymore. So this is about the last week or two of being able to do anything in the dirt before it's solid till May. So, okay, we can get on the road and let's get out there. The time is a little after 7:10, I believe. And that we've not had daylight savings time yet. Actually, do not know when that is for sure. Coming up here pretty quick though. So. As the days progress now, we'll constantly keep losing light. No ice on the water yet. I'm sure that'll happen later on this week. That water still flows a little bit. It is a very foggy day. The piles have burned down to nothing. And the dog water bowl, it's a little firm. That means this hose is a little firm. So we'll get this tank drained. It won't be frozen inside. It hadn't been that cold. It is 9:30, still very frosty. The frost will burn off. Just ran the disc over. Looks like where there's no cover, looks like there's about an inch of frost in the ground. So yeah, with an inch of frost, more than likely have a week. I don't know, maybe more. We will see. That's okay. There's plenty to do around here. Tillage can wait till spring if need be. So, and the crew's been working hard all summer. The fact it's starting to slow down a little bit in the fall is a welcome change. I'm sure here in a few months be chomping at the bit to get going again. It seems to be the way of things. But it is going to be a beautiful day. There's a few high clouds off in a few places, but for the most part, there's none. I'm sure it'll be in the mid 40s today. I don't know if it'll get to 50. We'll check back in. Meanwhile, let's see how frozen this tank is. Well, let's see. Take the hose off. Step one. Oh. Well, we can go get the torch and speed it up a little, see what happens. I don't know exactly how full this tank is. Barely, I think. After that. There we go. There we go. Okay, it's defrosted. We like to keep the water around throughout the summer. Just nice to have water to put out a fire, water dogs, wash your hands, whatever. But with the cold weather, that's coming to an end. So we will put this tank away. I think I'll probably fire the truck up and move it where we're not dumping water right where we're working. So, yep, I'll do that. Now, will the truck start? That is the question. We'll find out here. Look at that! Like a champ. Better defrost the window. Everybody needs just a good old farm truck around. This one's hurting in a lot of places, but it starts okay. It runs okay. Good enough to pull a water tank around. Yeah, just a matter of stacking everything up, putting everything away. I'd like to say we're super organized. We're fairly organized. With multiple people working at the farm, we try to make sure things are put back at least kind of close to where they're supposed to be. But boy, is it a good feeling to get these piles burned. I don't know if I've given a tour of the inside of the trailer. Pretty basic. Messy tool bench, somewhat organized. There's a space heater running in the back for a little bit of warmth to get in out of the cold. So yesterday, Adrian and I went into town, had to get some plywood and other materials. We got that cut up and everything staged. So we'll be taking the trailer and the F800 and another trailer to the other side of the mountains down towards Anchorage. We picked up another piece of farm equipment at an auction that we'll need to go get. So it's going to take a little bit of logistics. We had to modify the trailer to make it fit. So it's going to take a little bit to do this, but that's okay. Everybody's excited about it. Hi, Dusty. Hi, Dusty dog. Oh, he's so happy. There's Belle. What you thinking, huh? Knocked over some of the stragglers, trees that don't need to be in the way. Getting those picked up and moved out of the way. The tractor does a pretty good job of picking up these logs and moving them and stacking them. We put them on the edge of the field, up off the ground, where if they set for the next year or two, they'll still be good for firewood. The main goal here is to get the farmland ready to plant next year, so just getting the trees out of the way is the important part, but we didn't want to waste them since they still have use for firewood. The skid steer is much faster with the grapple. I did speed this clip up, but the tractor does a good job. And you just kind of do everything with purpose and get the job done. And that is the gold.
You just gotta love how the frost brings out nature that you don't normally see, especially like a spider web. Frost has been hitting, the trees are turning color, the water's quiet. Looks like the ducks have moved on for the winter.
As we make the transition from summer to winter, the land becomes quiet and still. The ducks and the songbirds have flown south, bringing a silence to the land that you only get in the winter. From now till spring, there will be the occasional call of a raven or a coyote or wolf in the distance. But as we look over the farm, it's hard to imagine in just a few short months we've changed it from raw wilderness into a field. Very, very amazing sight to see.
Belle, Dusty, and Rosie way over there. She likes to wander. But isn't that beautiful? No wood piles in the middle of the fields. Now it'll be easier to disc. With disking, hopefully we'll get it all done and it'll be ready for the spring.
Some pretty clouds. You can see the piles are just smoldering now. And they'll do this for a week or two, slowly burning up the roots and other debris. Oh, there went some grouse. They were in the cornfield. Maybe I caught them. There's a couple, there might be a couple more in there. Okay, now we're on to the field corn or dent corn. And this is, I don't think Gaspy's considered a dent because it doesn't dent. But here, I'm gonna have Adrian run the camera for me so you guys can see this better. Okay, so here's the Gaspy corn. I don't know if you can get in on it. So the plant's drying. They're hard. I'm not going to say they're dry. I'm sure the moisture is pretty high on them at the moment. So we need to let it set here for another week or two. Let's see what they look like. So looks like they've made a black layer, so they're at maturity. Now this needs to dry down. So they still feel a little damp, although it was a heavy frost this morning. See what they look like next weekend. Okay, this little line here is Alaska spelt. And it actually did good. I think it's been mature and harvestable for about the last 3 weeks. It's dried out very well now. And for being just a thin strip planted, no irrigation, just left to its own devices. So it's Alaska spelt. So it's a type of wheat, I believe. Have to read up on that a little better. Okay, so as we talked, that hard frost of 22, 24 degrees will have done the corn in. The plants will be dead. If you could find an ear in there, there might be enough sugar in it that the corn itself didn't freeze, the cob. But if it did, it'll be turning starchy in no time flat. Okay, here's one of the property corners. It marks the 2 pieces of property to my right and my left. So we're going to put in a fence post on it to make sure it doesn't get hit. People can see it and find it. If brush grows up, these things get lost. It's a lot easier to find it now while we know where it is instead of waiting till we don't know where it is.
And it's a little mushy there. We got the water from the pond.
Yeah, and this is not the true property corner. The true property corner's about 80 foot out into the water. And obviously they couldn't put a monument there, so they just move it back up to the high water mark. Now's the perfect opportunity to mark these corners. They're easy to find right now, but give it 2 or 3 or 4 years and it'll be harder and harder to find. By just putting a well-marked fence post next to the corner, it'll be easier to locate it down the road, which is good for us, and it'll help our neighbors out too. It's a wonderful thing that the state took the initiative and cleared all the property lines in this agricultural development. Makes it easier for buyers to figure out which land they're going to buy. It makes it easier to clear the land so you can stay on your land while you're clearing. So with a killing frost, it was time to cut the pumpkins. The variety planted in the backyard was Atlantic Giants. And as these are nowhere near the state record this year, which was over 2,000 pounds, they were still fairly large pumpkins, especially for us. This was our first year growing giant pumpkins, and we've been so busy working out at the farm, we definitely didn't water and feed these like they needed to be fed. And you're supposed to take and pick all but 1 or 2 pumpkins off each vine so that the vine can give as much as the pumpkin needs to grow. Instead, we just left these alone and let them grow and do what they need to do naturally. So when the frost hits and kills the leaves, you get to see all the pumpkins that had grown. Kind of like Christmas in September. The hard freeze we had actually did damage some of the pumpkins. But like every other year and everything else we grow, we learned a little more and we'll be a little better at it next time. These pumpkins require a lot of room, and with the new farmland, we'll actually have a place that we can plant some and let them spread out. And even though this year's growing season has come to an end, we're excited and we're already planning for next year. And that's the real excitement about farming, gardening, and growing things. You plan as much as you can, and you also hope, and you get a surprise. That's where we're going to end this video. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us this week. Okay, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.